Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. Let's get started with our guest today. Our first question: in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Awesome, Sean. Well, happy to be here. My name is John Day, and I'm the founder of AV Hero, which is a online platform providing on-demand audiovisual services to businesses and residences.
And if I saw correctly on your LinkedIn profile, you literally saved the day because it's right in the moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it's an on-site service, so
Okay.
it's maybe not going to be in the moment, but you can have someone to your home or business in less than an hour. You can connect with someone also over the phone that could help you remotely within a matter of minutes. But yeah, it's introducing the gig economy into an industry that's typically been relatively slow and complicated and expensive to get any kind of a response.
Oh yeah, very helpful indeed, I must say. That sounds great. Well, our
Yeah.
second question: what's the best thing about working with a team?
You know, the best thing to me about working with a team is really the relationships, the camaraderie. At the end of the day, life is short, and having people that you can have celebrate victories and lick your wounds together when you lose, right? Not being alone. I think that's one of the talk about pandemics, right? That's one of the pandemics on planet Earth is isolation.
Mhm.
And so being with a team and developing that mutual trust, that camaraderie, and admiration for one another. I think that's the best team beyond results and 10xing things. I think just having relationships is probably the best thing.
I agree. I like that because I am one that also likes the relationship part of a team. And so I appreciate those comments. Question number 3: I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it can. I think a lot of it has to do with what's the why, right? If leaders focus simply on the how to, all the tasks or the obligations or the commitments, and they don't really focus on that core why, it's going to be hard getting people engaged. Again, there's a big difference though between someone that's maybe an employee, right, that's getting paid to do something versus someone that's maybe on a volunteer level. I think either way, though, to get the best out of people, you've got to focus on that core why, which I found that people typically get excited when it's an idea, a concept, or a goal that's actually bigger than themselves.
I like those comments. You're absolutely right. Finding that why is so critical and what drives them, and regardless of whether they're an employee or a volunteer, as you described, very important. I like those comments. Question number 4: what other piece of advice do you have for leaders of teams?
Yeah. So the two things I would say, Sean, is number one, you got to have a vision. The wisest man to ever live said once that without a vision, people perish. And you've got to have, again, going back to the previous question, you've got to paint a picture of where people are headed in order to generate excitement and enthusiasm, and in order to inspire people to want to go the extra mile and not just do the bare minimum to check a box, but to actually put their heart and put their soul into a project. You've got to paint a picture. You got to have a vision, and it's got to be something that's big and grandiose. That again, an individual could not accomplish on uh, their own strength. The second thing is ownership, I would say. So vision and ownership. So once you've painted the vision, I think people want to know, okay, so now what's my part? Where do I get to contribute? right? Most people on a team aren't going to feel inspired if the leader is just a dictator and he's saying, okay, you do this and you do this and you do this, right? And then especially if you're a dictator that's also a micromanager, right? So you're dictating and then you're micromanaging. I mean, people are going to start looking for new jobs, new volunteer opportunities quickly. But giving people ownership and saying, okay, so here's the big picture. Here's how we might break this down into different phases or tasks, and Sean, I'm going to give you this. And I want you to come back to me with, what do you think the best approach? What are some of your creative ideas? Giving people that ownership is where you're going to get that excitement, and you're going to get that synergy, and you're going to get that creative just gold that can come out of those team engagements. So vision and ownership would be the real advice I'd give to people. I've been involved in, as a volunteer and in things that have had great vision, and it's caused me to, stay up late, work hard, pay my own money when I'm not even being paid, because I believe in the vision. And then I've been a part of things where there's no vision, and it's really just, hey, we got to get this done. And, by this time, and why didn't it get done? And you're just kind of like, next, moving on. So
it makes a big difference, doesn't it, to have both of those components. I like how you included both vision and ownership, because it does require both to get, that's just the beginning of getting people engaged. So great tips. Question number 5, what other successful leaders of teams would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
Yeah, there's 2 people, well, maybe 3 that I would recommend. One of them, well, you don't want to say the first one is my wife. Shout out to my wife. She runs the team of the the Day household, and is a great leader of our 3 kids. So I think a stay-at-home mom is probably the hardest job in the world. But there's another friend of mine. His name is Joe Roberts. He actually runs 4 different companies. One's called Pord, one's Talent of Fashion, clothing brand called For Rowan. And then him and his wife run a nonprofit, kind of connecting people to nonprofit opportunities called Help. Joe Roberts. And then the third individual would be a gentleman named Samuel Duth, samuelduth.com. He's a leader in the Christian world, developing lots of resources to really help people along the journey of faith.
So those are awesome recommendations. And I really appreciate you recognizing your wife, because I share the same feeling that our wives, they do a lot to take care of things and support us, whether it's the wife supporting the husband or the husband supporting the wife, either way. But spouses do make a huge difference in the leadership role. So thank you for recognizing all of those individuals. Last question. Tell us about your first job.
Yeah, first job was working at Tony Maroney's Pizza in Bellevue, Washington, where I grew up. And literally, it would hand toss that whole thing, the pizza dough, in the air. And so that was my first job. It was fun. Everything from passing out flyers to tossing pizza dough. And
so you actually got to toss the dough then, is that right?
I did, man. I did. I tossed the dough. I was a professional pizza dough tosser, man, right up there with the guys from Italy.
That's awesome. That's a first of all of the guests I've had. That's the first that's a pizza tosser, or whatever the title would be.
There we go. There we go.
John, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is great. John K. Day. It'll show me there as the founder of AV Hero. My company, AV Hero, is found at www.avhero.app, which is APP. And that's where you can engage with our network of almost 2,000 certified audiovisual experts across the United States. AV Hero actually has now become the largest audiovisual workforce in America. So avhero.app, LinkedIn, love to get any type of messaging, questions, connections would be great.
All right, that sounds fantastic. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders and teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com and you can download an engagement booster tip sheet. Again, that is teamengagementpodcast.com. Thanks for listening and joining us today. Have a great day.